Hello, and welcome to Cahnmann's Current Events Roundtable. Today, we are featuring an outstanding group of people from NYCASA. It's a behavioral health organization in Lake County who help and promote healthy choices, positive choices, and lifelong solution in people's lives, especially in these hard economic times. And I'd like to introduce our guests who are doing a wonderful job to help people find hope in these economic difficult times. And I'm going to start at this end of the table, and this is Tricia Bodrich. Am I Bodrich? You have a very difficult name.
I know I do.
Yeah, you got to change your name. I have difficulty with that. And Tricia is the project director of NYCASA Women's Services. And next to her is Deborah Bobo, and Deborah has been on our show. Both of you, welcome back to our show that we did about a year ago, and I'm glad to have you back. And Deborah is also a person in recovery, and she is now you are part of the NYCASA staff.
That's right.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Deborah. And to my left over here, which is this is our first male man that's not a male man, but a male person that is now part of NYCASA, and this is Rick Mears. He's an intern in social work at NYCASA. Welcome to our show.
Thanks,
and next to me is Cindy with an S.
Yes.
Guerra, is that how you pronounce your last name? Guerra. And you're the family advocacy counselor of NYCASA. Welcome.
Thank you.
Did I shake your hands too? Let me shake your hands since I forgot about the two of you. And welcome back to our show, and welcome to our show, all of you. We just talked about the title just a few minutes ago, which is we are, during these very, very difficult, hard economic times, and let's talk about what your programs are about. And you hear so much negative connotation of entitlement programs, welfare programs, and I don't think, even though it is in somewhat a little bit of a welfare or entitlement program, but it really isn't, because you are giving substance, you're giving people something to focus on so that they can improve themselves and they can, they can get a fresh beginning. Sometimes we have to reevaluate ourselves, we reinstate ourselves, that we need to, put on a new person, like you did. You did a wonderful job of becoming a wonderful new person in your life, which you'll talk about in just a few minutes. But I want to ask Tricia, tell us a little bit about, since you're the director of the program, tell us a little bit about NYCASA.
Well, first of all, NYCASA is still here, and that's been a major challenge for a year ago. A lot of social services in Lake County, a lot of doors have closed. People don't have as many places to turn to when they've got problems that they need help with. We've been able to keep our doors open, and also to sort of add or change some of our focus to more social services, because we got a grant through a DCFS, Department of Children and Family Services grant, to help us keep families that are in crisis, help them at that moment of crisis, and keep them strong.
So that's a new program, and is Rick is the one in charge of this at this point?
Well, he's one of the interns that's working on the family advocacy. That's
Okay.
how he got his opportunity.
Oh, wonderful. Rick, welcome to NYCASA, and congratulations that you have the spot, and you're the first male of the program. And how does it feel to be the first male amongst all these females? And what exactly do you do with the advocacy program?
Well, as Tricia stated, it's mainly for families in crisis. I mean, it's really the only requirement for involvement in the program is that you have to have children. Because it's a DCFS-sponsored program, it's to try to keep people from getting into the system. It's more of I look at it as a crisis management / prevention program to try to keep families intact, keep families in the community so they don't have to enter into the system or bring the attention of the authorities. So I think, as a counselor, and Cindy does that work as well, we provide, I guess, community triage for people with various problems, crises, resource issues, food, housing, counseling needs. I mean, pretty much anything under the sun which families are faced with.
And especially now, since people they're losing their jobs, they're losing their homes. I mean, this is really sad. And I think, Cindy, is this like one of the first times that people, a lot of them are first timers too. I think I mentioned we have some family that lived in Winnetka that lost, their houses, and people think of, it's just families living in poor areas, but this is not so anymore. It's families that had maybe they had a beautiful home, they've had, they had good jobs, and they've lost everything.
Yes.
So what is your, what have you been doing with NYCASA, and how has this been?
That is something that we're seeing more often today, is that there are families that have had successful careers or businesses, and due to the economy, they've lost those. So we're kind of here to help, the families kind of transition and be able to be successful in the future.
And this is helping families. Like you said something about, Rick, you just mentioned something to the fact that you're trying to keep people out of the system. What do you mean by, anyone could jump in and answer the question right now, keeping families out of the system? Do you want to take it, or one of you two?
With DCFS, they're trying to do is prevent further slippage into the system, where if a family's in crisis, they're losing resources, losing their jobs, their homes, it puts the family at risk. And when the family's at risk, specifically the children, that's what garners the eye of the authorities. If kids aren't being fed and needs aren't being met, and that's where families and kids in particular are in danger from possibly coming into the system, catching the eye of DCFS. So we're trying to just be a broker for resources to, even if it's whether we have services in-house at NYCASA, or we have to piecemeal it from other agencies in the community, to try to bring agencies and stuff together to give the families what they need to keep them intact, keep the families together, and keep them out of the system and functioning in the community in a healthy way.
Maybe you can tell us a little bit about the programs and what a little bit that's happened to you. I would like Deborah to, talk a little bit about, we talked about a little bit earlier that you were telling me some things, and I think it would be interesting for the viewers to hear this.
Well, as you know, I work for NYCASA, and I did come to NYCASA as a client. After I completed the program, I looked at what I could do to become more self-sufficient.
Now, when you said you came as a client, what had happened to you earlier?
I came to NYCASA for a DUI.
Okay.
Although I had unhealthy coping skills and other issues that I needed to work on. NYCASA gave me the tools, and so that began my journey. After I got through the treatment, then my recovery process starts at that point. Now I'm at a point in my life at that time to go out into society and become more self-sufficient, have stable housing and so forth. So, and actually what I do is outreach and transportation and child care. So at that time when I came to NYCASA, I didn't have a driver's license. So that was one barrier that I did overcome. The other was I had a background in the mortgage banking field, and I connected then with another social service agency and got my license and went back in that area because of the economic times and a lot of mortgage companies closing down. Then I was laid off. I continued then to stay connected once I had left NYCASA. NYCASA has a program with the Women of Worth, and those are a group of women that have gone through the program that continue to come back for support, and they also give back. They do a lot of empowerment. So I connected with that group. I stayed connected with them, and that helped me personally continue to stay strong, as well as continue to strengthen myself as an individual, because there's ongoing workshops available. And I eventually then became hired on as staff at NYCASA.
That's really interesting. You almost reinvented yourself. I mean, and I think we talked about it earlier that a lot of people are losing their jobs, and my understanding is a lot of these jobs that people are losing are not going to come back. And they're not going to be able to do those jobs. And so part of NACASA's training is to maybe even train people to learn other skills. Yeah. Is that part of your, could one of you want to take that? And
well, I think with substance abuse treatment, we really do try to help people learn to tap into their resiliency and the strengths that they have. We really try to have a strength-based program, so that we look at people's needs and how we can help them, but also what are they bringing to the table, and how can they give back? What can they offer the community? And that gives people hope, and it gives them something to look forward to and something to give. Makes all the difference.
But also that if a person has, say, lost a particular job and they're not, we were talking 50 and above, and these people are not getting their jobs, because a lot of jobs go to younger people. Mm-hmm. What do these people do? I mean, they may have been a CEO of a company, they may have been head of something, and their job no longer exists, and no one is going to hire them. They're looking for, first of all, they're looking for somebody maybe younger. They don't have to pay that salary anymore. A lot of people are getting hired back as, consultants, so they don't have to pay insurance, the insurance premiums anymore. So they can, a lot of businesses just can't afford to pay all this type of, perks or benefits. What is a person, and they come to NACASA, what do you offer them? Give me some ideas.
Well, we work, at least with the family advocacy, we do have connections with resources in the community that do have career-based programs where they teach, either computer classes or some type of program that'll help them, find jobs. Mm-hmm. And there are some that are free, and we're able to connect them with those agencies. And I know that Deborah was talking a little bit about doing some volunteer work. Did you want to?
Yeah, go ahead.
I just personally felt like at that point in time, I'm almost 50. What I would do, I always try to think.
That's the 50 plus.
Right. I always stop and think, what would I do? What haven't I done that maybe I've always wanted to do? Mm-hmm. So I would stop and think, what am I passionate about? Do I have other gifts and talents? And there may be something that someone has always liked to do. And so at that point in time, you can take a look at maybe going and volunteering at a place, some type of employment some agency, or it could be, just anywhere pretty much, and just give back to your community. Mm-hmm. And a lot of times what I have seen happen is that if you do a job diligently and you're passionate about it, mm-hmm. and you do it for free, there's no reason why they can't hire you.
And also taking jobs as temps too. I think that's a lot of people don't realize, mm-hmm. taking a temp job, because once you're in that place of employment, they know who you are, they see you, and maybe the temp job goes on for several weeks, or some of them several months, and if something opens up, you're the first one there, and you're the first one hired, that type of thing. Rick, let me ask you something, and then if I just wanted to ask you, do people have problems reinventing themselves? They've worked, and I think we talked about. I see it from a different point of view. I see, maybe it's I see women, and women seem to be more open to finding new things, and men, and I think you mentioned at lunch, you mentioned that men, you don't see that as much, but and sometimes I have seen where men have done a certain type of job and they just kind of want that job back again, and that's all they'll do. Mm-hmm. And how do you get people to see a different side of themselves, that that they can do something else? Say if they're whatever they've been in for many, many years, and they're so used to doing it. How do you get people to, see a different side so that they're be more open to do something else?
Well, I think the approach, excuse me, that I take working with any client that comes through my door is to start where they're at. I always tell people that they're the experts on themselves, that despite whatever education or training experience I have in the helping profession, that I can't possibly have, walked a mile in their shoes. So I always try to start where my clients are at and try to, validate what they've been through, validate what they are going through, and then try to come to a common ground or have agreement about, what the issues and needs are, and then try to work forward to come up with solutions. But they are always, the captain of their ship, making the treatment decisions or the family decisions, the life decisions to see a way out of whatever crisis they're going through and their families are going through.
Mm-hmm. Do they really, sometimes the families feel like they're in a hole that they can't get out?
Yeah, it's common. Obviously when you're an adult, you're a mother or father, or if you have a mom and dad with kids, the problems can mount. At first it's a job loss, and then there's questions about, paying the house, the bills, feeding the kids, and kids aren't slow. They understand the problems of the household no matter, how young they are. Mm-hmm. So the problems and the tensions can mount, and it can be very difficult to kind of see the light at the end of the tunnel, to find your own resiliency to overcome those problems. And, hopefully when someone comes through my door for family advocacy, we offer like a little bit of light, and maybe then that's where the expertise comes in to help find, people don't know what resources are out there, and that's my job to try to educate myself on what's out there to be a better helper when someone comes to my door looking for something.
Is it hard for some people to ask for help, Cindy? Do you, because especially people that have never been, say, on food stamps, people that have never had a crisis in their, this type of crisis where they've lost their homes, and what do you do to help these people, and especially, say, they become single parents and even single fathers? You mentioned earlier they're single fathers. So what do you do to get this, help for them?
Like Rich mentioned, we do work with them. Every family gets a service plan, and with that service plan, we talk about the needs that they have. We talk about their services that they need, and we work on those goals. And one of the things that we do is we do care. We really do care about our community, and we want to help. And I think that a lot of times just being able to have that client feel like you care, like you're really listening to what they're going through, it helps a lot. It helps for them to feel a little bit more comfortable in asking, for some help.
Yeah, because a lot of them are their first time, and I think you told me earlier there was a father, single father for the first time. You had to teach him different things, that's kind of difficult too, because a lot of, I know very early on I taught both my boys, beside my girls, how to wash clothes and how to iron. Some men have never ironed before, learned how to do all these things. I don't know about you, Rick. But, so how do you do that? How do you get people for the first time to to do things and to understand things?
When clients get together, they help each other and they teach each other. And I think we also have parenting to teach them some of the skills that maybe are missing in their lives. And in the parenting classes, they share what their issues are, what they're facing, what their struggles are, and they realize they're not alone.
Maybe is that the secret kind of is in groups when people have to face it together, and then they realize they're not alone. They're not the only person. I'm not the only person that lost my house. I'm not the only person that lost my job. I can't pay my mortgage. I can't pay my bills. What do I do about the kids? They're going to college right now. There's a lot of kids having to drop out of colleges, because they can't afford. Some of the colleges are so very, very expensive. What do you do for these people? How do you help them? And going back to funding, how do you get your funding? You said you've been lucky.
we've worked very hard, and we have been lucky. But just like all the other social services in Illinois, every year, a little chip, we got another cut, another small cut this year. We are so thankful that we've been able to keep our doors open, and we've been able to provide all the services that we've had before. But we've had to make changes. And
I know you had to go to Springfield. I know a year ago when I had you on my show, you were marching to Springfield, weren't you?
Yes.
I remember that.
And that's one thing that we also do is encourage our clients to advocate as well. You know, it's not just a problem that we get involved with, they get involved with as well. You know, we have to come together as a community and help each other. This is not just an isolated problem.
So how does that happen? How do you get the community to help out?
Well, that's one way, going to Springfield. We advocate. We put on our Walk for Recovery. You know, we get out there and get in the trenches and just go out in the community and reach out. And we network and we look for resources. You have to support other people, and people will support you. Definitely.
there's a national movement. It's the Faces and Voices of Recovery. And what they found was that people, when they're in their addiction and they get help, but when they recover, no one knows. No one knows, oh, that my neighbor down the street is in recovery.
Isn't recovery, if a person recovers from an addiction, it's important that they, stay in a program. So some kind of a program. I think that's kind of important, isn't it? That once you recover, there should be, a support program that they can get. If they start to fall back, there's something there for them.
Yes.
And ICASA has that.
Yes, that's part of what the Women of Work do. Yeah. They continue to stay connected because it's not about you. In order for you to help yourself, you have to help someone else. And the other thing is that when life shows up, you need that support. And things do happen. People in recovery, they may have a setback and go through a downfall, and
because a setback could be they could be doing well, and then all of a sudden they lose their job,
right? And
it's very tempting to go back to the substance.
That's correct.
Because that was the thing that helped you out before. It helps you for like
cope with it.
Yeah, to cope, but then you fall back down because you can't be on a substance without consequences. And I mean, this team. It's like a team approach. Each one of you seem to do something different in the program. And I know for you, Deborah, you're paying back. I mean, for everything that they gave to you, you're paying back by being there and now being part of the staff. And what is it like for you when you hear these terribly sad stories of the economy? What is it like for each of you to, when people tell these stories? I mean, maybe you're not at the age yet where you have lost your jobs, or what is that like for you? And you're a little bit younger right now, and how does that feel? And
I'm not all that young now.
you look younger than me, but.
And I do empathize with the stories because actually being an intern with NACASA, I'm in school right now, so I had to step down from the job that I was involved in to finish up my degree, to finish up my classes, and do this last internship for my degree. So. In a couple of weeks, when I graduate and join the ranks of the unemployed, I will find myself in a similar situation. So hearing the stories, as you said, that it's not just people with low skill or low wage jobs, losing their jobs. It's people who've had, careers, educated people with careers and homes and families are also falling into that mix of these tough economic times. So I certainly appreciate, when those folks come through my door, and hope that I can have some of my own resiliency and come out on top when I finish my schooling.
So you're going to join the ranks eventually, but there's some things that you could do too. I mean, you could start your own business. A lot of people, and I think we talked about it earlier. I think we were talking about a story about my own daughter who recreated herself. She got a arts degree from University of Wisconsin in Madison. And what do you do with an art degree? And what she did with her art degree is she started her company and became a floral designer, and she started working at restaurants, putting flowers in restaurants. Then she did hotels, and now she's doing weddings. So it's not always to look outside for an employment. Sometimes to recreate and do something for yourself and learn, to be an advocate for yourself and to reinvent yourself and start your own business. And I know all she needed was a business card. She made very little investment, business card, and now she has a brochure. So, maybe couple $100 for an investment.
And people need the belief in themselves and hope that something's out there. And I think that that's what we try to give our clients is hope. Is hope in what they can do and tomorrow.
Mm-hmm. So there's things out there that people don't hear. So you try to stress the positive for them too. So instead of always looking for someone to hire you, maybe to find something that you can do. That is there? You ever get that with any of your clients? You ever look and see what they have that's a strong side, that they maybe something they wanted to write, something where they can edit people's manuscripts. Is there anything that you've been in that you can one of you that you could chime in? Any one of you?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well, I think starting with any client that comes in with a problem is just trying to validate what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
If someone has within themselves that they are, feeling like they've been, the economy or the poor job market is, running them ragged, and they want to look from within or their own business, then, would be to validate those feelings and hopefully bring about that resiliency, that encouragement, and have them walk down that path. But as I said before, they're the captain of their ship, and we're kind of along for the ride, and hopefully that, when bumps come up, that we can help navigate those waters, but that they be the ones to make the first step and make a decision for their lives.
That's really important about this, because you're there to promote what they have, and that is important for you, and I think you've gotten that too. You had mentioned that if somebody's interested in flowers, they should maybe
Volunteer.
they volunteer in shadow behind somebody in a floral shop.
Definitely.
We have 2 minutes, and I want to thank each of you for being who you are. People that are helping other people, and it's just not about being on welfare or being entitlement. There's so negative connotations on entitlements and this, and and where people can use a little bit of entitlement, and yet then they can pay back.
Right.
Right? It isn't all about that. So the entitlements or the short welfare, being on welfare for a short time, gives you the little bit of money so you can start. Like you mentioned earlier, you can start your own business, start something, and you can pay back. I want to thank all of you for your vision to promote empowerment and integrity in the recovering community by working and restoring trust and hope, especially in these very, very hard economic times. And I want to thank each of you for being on Cahnmann's Roundtable, and I invite each of you back. You've been coming every year. Tricia and Deborah, come back again. I'd love to have you. Thank you so and much. Thank you so much. And Cindy, thank you for coming. And Rick, good luck to you. I think you're gonna find employment. If you can't find it, you'll find it in yourself.
Yes.
And thank you so very much, because I think it's important.